Funding for Decibel is provided by Texas Mutual Insurance.
All of this laid the groundwork for the culture in this city now.
When I finally folded the tent, it was pushing $50,000 a month. It's not possible unless you charge them $50 a meatloaf.
Good evening, I'm Judy Maggio. We're bringing you tonight's December episode of Decibel from LaLa's, where, as you can see, every day is Christmas. We thought this bar was a festive backdrop for our focus on iconic Austin places and people. This watering hole just off Burnett Road opened in 1972. Why the holiday theme year-round? That depends on which story you believe about the late owner, Frances LaLa.
There's three main ones. The first one being Frances LaLa's husband left her shortly after she opened. Christmas decorations were up. She kind of went into a little depression after that and stayed away from the bar. And a few months went by before she kind of re-energized and came back to work. And by that time, it had kind of taken on a life of its own, the Christmas decorations staying around year-round. The second one is one year she put up the Christmas decorations. At the end of the year, she took them down, looked around the bar and looked naked, so she just threw them back up and never took them down. The third, and by far most popular one, was the year she opened. She put up her Christmas decorations, and the day she put them up was the day that her son left for Vietnam. And the promise she made was the decorations stay up till he comes home. And he never came home, and the decorations never came down. That's been popularized. Hayes Carl wrote a great song about it called Jesus and Elvis.
LaLa built this joint in '67, and her boy went off to fight on Christmas Eve. In a war nobody won, she lost her only son. Now everything he loved is what you see.
Kenny Chesney's covered it. It was number 10 on the country Billboard charts, but it's written about our little North Austin bar right here.
Few people know which version is valid, but the result is a dive bar with deeply loyal regulars who relish the delightful decorations. LaLa's is just one iconic business that found itself struggling to survive with Austin's booming economy and rising rents. It was rescued by new owners a few years ago. With so many new businesses opening and some old favorites closing, longtime Austinites wonder if the price of progress is too high for the city's welcoming, creative culture to survive. For the next half hour, we'll explore that question and visit some of the iconic places keeping Austin weird and wonderful.
It started with musicians, and it continued with film people, food people, and it built up to tech. And even with high tech, music is still this foundation.
Austin always kind of had that spirit of it was a special place. It was a green place. It was a pretty place. It was a place that invited creativity and invited openness to the way people could think about things.
In this city, taking risks is rewarded.
Right.
And failing is not punished the way that it's punished in other cities. And I think that helps make this a creative place. So when people
keeping it weird.
Keep Austin weird, to me, is exactly that.
Austin's weird, welcoming ways are a double-edged sword. Rapid growth is magnifying affordability, traffic, and gentrification challenges. Joe Nick Petoskey is a longtime journalist who chronicled our creative history in his book, Austin to ATX. He says, we're still cool, but it comes with added cost.
You know, you can call it cosmic. I tend to err on the side of Doug Somm, who always would talk about the groove. And now you have to pay a groove tax to be here. If you're an artist, you have to have money or an entrepreneurial spirit, something to so you can afford your habit. You can't slack like you could in the 70s and 80s.
Slackers aren't the only ones priced out of Austin. It's not uncommon to see iconic local businesses shutting their doors.
When I finally folded the tent, it was pushing $50,000 a month. It's not possible unless you charge in $50 a meatloaf.
Despite the big city problems, Austin's creative culture is so deeply baked into its DNA, the community continues to thrive. But longtime Austinites will tell you one key to that culture's survival is remembering the places and people that put us on the map.
Look and see who we are in Austin because of where we've been. All of this laid the groundwork for the culture in this city now.
You could say the South Austin Museum of Popular Culture is the keeper of all things weird in Austin. Museum co-founder Emma Little gave us a tour of this unique collection preserving some of our city's not-so-distant past. Talk about keeping Austin weird. No place symbolizes that more really than the South Austin Museum of Popular Culture. Emma Little is here with me. She is the president of the board because this is a nonprofit, right?
That's true. It is a nonprofit.
So I want to first start with this. Everybody sees behind me. This is the memorial wall, and when we drove up, I went, "Oh, there's so and so." You know, it's like people I knew.
These are people that were, you know, important to Texas and to Austin especially. A lot of them were performers, poets, movie makers, politicians, ne'er-do-wells, and you know, you name it. We have them all covered here. In this room right here, we have some of our best acquisitions. The Threadgill's acquisitions, stuff that was given to us by Gilbert Shelton. And we have our first acquisition here, but it's not really art. It's a genuine hair from the head of Elvis Presley.
And how did the South Austin Museum of Popular Culture acquire an Elvis Presley hair, which by the way is right
donated to us by this person.
Who was there when Elvis got his hair cut.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you come here, you don't just go to the bathroom, you keep taking a tour.
Yeah, every inch of our wall space is used for exhibit.
So tell me what people will see when they're in the bathroom.
Well, first off, this wall came out of Raoul's, complete with the graffiti. And this is Marcia Ball when she was just kind of starting out. There's also Danny Roy Young.
Is that who this is?
It was the former mayor of South Austin.
And who is this?
That's Henry Gonzalez.
That's one of the people who started this museum,
yeah,
right?
He's been in the Austin music scene for as long as I can remember, and he really was the heart and soul here.
How did all this get started?
Our founders got together and we, realized that this stuff was worth preserving. You know, there were going to be people who wanted to know, how did we become the live music capital of the world? Well, the art portion of the music industry has always been really in the forefront. Think about the Vulcan Gas Company. You can remember some of the posters that were done back then. And then when the Armadillo came along, they had their own art squad. There was this just amazing catch of artwork, and it was definitely worth preserving.
What do you want them to come away with?
I want them to come away with a better understanding of who we are in Austin because of where we've been. You know, look and see our not too recent past and how all of this laid the groundwork for the culture in this city now.
Who knows, maybe someday this giant chair at LaLa's will make it into the museum. Since we took our tour of South Pop, a big change. It's moved north to a new home, just behind the old Threadgill's #1. That original Threadgill's is an Austin treasure with a rich history deeply rooted in the music scene. So we are at the original Threadgill's,
yes,
the oldest one, and this place has so much history when it comes to the Austin music scene. So this was a gas station where people would come and sing? I don't get it.
It was a gas station with beer license number 01 in December of '33 after Prohibition was
1933.
lifted.
So you bought this burnt out gas station?
Yeah, this little strip of land here.
has come at last.
One of the famous things about Threadgills is that Janis Joplin
started singing in public here on a fairly irregular.
And this would have been the
frequent-
early 60s?
Yeah.
So she was just a singer from Port Arthur, Texas.
She wasn't just a singer from Port Arthur, Texas.
Well, I mean, when she started here.
She had the bells of St. Mary's in her chest, and she could rattle a room.
I'm gonna use it till the day
I do want to show this original part because this is kind of where it all started, right?
This little room was the only performance area, and so people would crowd in here, what we would say, belt buckle to buttock, and like this. If you wanted a beer or two or three,
You just turned around?
you hollered for it.
Oh.
Somebody would pass it over, and you would give somebody money, and they would pass it overhead back here, and I never heard an argument about anybody getting shorted.
What do you think drew all these musicians? I mean, Threadgills was there at the beginning.
Time, coincidence, a lot of happenstance, and so we did a lot of things that we might not have tried to do if we were in Dallas or Houston. Dallas and Houston poured people into our scene here. They heard that we were getting away with murder, and they wanted to come have a piece of that.
So I know recently the big headline was your world headquarters at Threadgills. Why did you have to shut down?
Property taxes. When I finally folded the tent, it was pushing $50,000 a month. It's not possible unless you charge in $50 a meatloaf.
Wow. So you've really witnessed the music history in this city.
I've had my fair share of those, golden moments.
You can't talk about Austin music history without mentioning our own Studio 6A, the original home of Austin City Limits. Longtime executive producer Terry Lacona shared some of his favorite memories with us.
Recorded live from Austin, Texas, it's Austin City Limits.
Thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Always a pleasure to come back to what used to be my home.
I know.
It still feels like it in so many ways.
There are a few things as iconic in my mind as Studio 6A. This is the home of Austin City Limits, the original Austin City Limits, right?
It certainly is. And it's even been declared a historic rock and roll landmark by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it still is a place where so much history has happened over the years. So much incredible music has happened on that very stage.
Those of us that were lucky enough to be in Austin a long time and come to shows here, I have so many wonderful memories. But let's go inside and show everybody, because few people get a peek behind the scenes of this iconic studio.
This is true, since we no longer do the shows here.
That's right.
Whiskey River, take my mind. Don't let a memory talk to me.
When the show started back in 1974, when Willie did the original pilot, I think we had as many as 600 or 700 people in here. The original arrangement, we had bleacher seating that went all around the stage, wrapped around the backside of the stage.
Oh.
Now, we did that for the first 2 to 3 years, and then realized nobody really wanted to sit in the back and stare at somebody's back of somebody's head.
Yeah.
We came up with the idea of having the Austin skyline as the backdrop in our 7th season, and we still do. This is the original skyline. The new one, of course, is at the Moody downtown. But because of the scale, because of just the juxtaposition of the backdrop and the audience and the cameras, it really does seem like the real deal. And it's surprising how many people, I think, even to this day, really believed that it was outside. Yeah. My first year as producer, which was season 4, so that would have been, say, 1977 or 78, was when this stage was built. But, you know, you just stand here, you think about the people who have stood on this stage, who have poured their hearts out, played incredible guitar solos, been captured, you know, on video and carried to millions of people around the world to see. It's all happened right here from this spot. You can't stand here without getting that.
I just got chills when you're talking. Yeah, it's.
There is a magic in this room, and people keep using that word over and over again, and it's not a cliche. It's true. It's one of the few things about Austin that hasn't really changed in the last 45 years. I mean, the show has evolved, of course, looks different than it did back then. But the idea behind Austin City Limits, as pure and simple as it is, has endured the test of time. As much as Austin has grown and changed, and with so many more people here, I think that's part of the reason people continue to move here, is because of things like Austin City Limits.
Sam's has been serving at barbecue for more than 60 years. Developers have offered owner Brian Mays millions to buy the old joint, but he's in no rush to sell.
Everything been changed. Everything been changed. Now we don't have no black pharmacy no more. We ain't got no black store no more. Now all that's gone. All the black clubs gone. But I ain't going nowhere.
So tell me about the mural.
There you go. See, this mirror here mean a whole lot to me right here. Because Martin Luther King, I didn't understand what it mean. We all came on a different ship, but now we're in the same boat. See, now I understand what this mirror mean to me, and I put that mirror on my wall for that. So when you come to Austin, we all got to come together. We all come on different ships, but now we're in the same boat. We bought the business when my daddy won this in a gambling game.
In a gambling game?
Right, Sam's.
This business was won in a gambling game.
Right, Sam Barbecue.
And then you bought the land.
Right,
afterwards.
76 afterward.
It was what did you pay for it?
We paid about $60,000.
For this whole plot of land.
There's a lot right here. It was old. It wasn't nothing like this. It wasn't nothing but a wall right here.
Okay.
It was just.
Oh, so it ended here?
It ended right here, just right here, and right there, that's it.
Okay, I see. So is back here where the magic happens? Is this where the food is? And so you grew up around here?
Right here, right.
Where did you grow up?
In the projects, and then out there on Springdale. We moved up in Springdale. It was a dead end of Austin. That was the city limit sign right there. Now city limits go way back there now. But they move everything.
Okay, so what's under here?
Chicken rib, brisket, chicken, mutton, everything right now.
So I understand that you've had offers to buy this land. So this is a couple of lots, right? This where this is and next door, right? Mm-hmm. So what have been the offers? Would you consider an offer for this property in this place?
Well, I said 10 million once before. We can start at 10 million and go down, but it's gonna be hard to take me all the way down. I don't have to sell. I know they're gonna build up around me. I know they already built up around me. But once they give me 10 million, they do what they want to do. I done sold out. I done did what everybody else did, sold out. Everybody know we sold out a long time ago. But I'm still hanging in here. I'm hanging. They gonna get me because they want this property. If they want this property, they gonna buy it. But I'm not gonna give it away.
Anything else you want to share about Sam's Barbecue?
Well, we love everybody. You don't need no tea when you come here. If you got dinner, take them out and come on down.
You don't need any tea?
To eat my beef at Sam's Barbecue.
You don't need tea?
You don't need nothing. I ain't got nothing. Where the camera? Yeah, it's all there.
Wilhelmina Delka was certainly an Austin icon. She's the first African-American elected to public office in our city. Now in her 90s, she is still an advocate and an activist for causes near and dear to her heart. What do you think about Austin being the only major city in the country losing its African-American population?
It's easy to understand because what is happening now is that whites have discovered East Austin and they're offering outrageous prices for our homes because they've discovered they're well built, they're in nice, quiet neighborhoods. And what is happening is that the amount of taxes you pay depend upon the value of the last piece of property sold, which means that they're driving young blacks out. My daughters, none of them live in East Austin because they cannot afford the taxes.
Talk about your experience in political office, because you were the first African-American public office holder.
Actually, when I ran for the school board, I wasn't thinking of it as a political position. I was thinking that over here in East Austin, we had issues that apparently the other members of the board weren't aware of or comfortable dealing with. So we needed somebody on the board, and I decided to run.
What do you think about Austin's future? What would you predict about our future as a community when it comes to racial equality?
I don't think we're ever going to be exactly equal in each other's sights, because I think that you grow up with stereotypical images that you have of people, and if you find somebody that you like in that group, you make them an exception. You don't make them an example of what the whole group is like. But I think the intermingling, the sharing of resources, the sharing of facilities, the benefits of having our kids in school together is going to make a difference in the political figure. It softens the structure of segregation, particularly now since whites have no doubt about moving over here. There was a time you couldn't get them to cross the street, and now very comfortable in living over here. And I think that's a good thing for Austin.
Before we say goodnight, I wanted you to meet the talented team most often behind the camera at Decibel: Joe Rocha, Angela Maldonado, and Blair Waltman-Alexin. We have covered so many interesting topics this year, from immigration to homelessness to mental health, and I really just wanted each of you to share some of the memorable moments as storytellers. Yeah. Blair, I'll start with you. Last year.
So we've covered like so many big topics this year, and it's really hard to pick just one. But we spent so much time on all of these, and it's hard not to get close to all of them. But one that really stuck with me was when we were covering homelessness earlier this year, and we got to do something you don't always get to do, and we got to circle back and check in on someone that we first did a story on about 2 years ago when we were just starting Decibel.
What happened to Jerome?
We met Jerome during the point in time count. He was living out in the wooded area, but he was about to go into Community First Village, and that was right when we met him. And so this year we got to go back and catch up with him, and we got to see him in his home, and he's doing great. He's involved in all these activities out there, and you can just really see the difference that being out there has made in his life, and it was amazing to get to catch back up with him.
It's always great when stories have a happy ending, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Blair.
Yeah.
I think I really, enjoyed that the tradition continues, that I'm able to do stories and profile the people that I know in my life. And I got to sneak in 2 of those stories this year, with one being my good friend Sunny during our mental health episode. He really opened up about how he goes about treating and living with bipolar disorder. So that was a really impactful story for me to get to kind of see how he has gone through. And he was really open as some of the darker periods of the condition. And I'm grateful that he trusted me to tell his story. And my next door neighbor, she let me in for an entire day. Joe and I were able to shadow her family as she homeschools her 3 children and why she does it and how she manages it, manages their day, things like that. So I'm also really grateful for the people that kind of like trust me and kind of to bring basically Austin into their homes.
My most memorable story is definitely this last one I did on deported veterans. I grew up traveling to Mexico as a kid, and it was just so interesting to see it. I don't travel there too often now because it's so dangerous on the border, but it was just so interesting from the migrants from Central America that are in these huge camps right on the border, to the deported veterans themselves, to just other folks living on the border. It's just such an interesting story, and I feel very privileged to have been able to cover this topic.
Thanks, Joe. And I think all 4 of us are looking forward to getting started in 2020 and bringing you more stories that we hope truly make a difference in your life. We hope you've enjoyed our look at some iconic people and places in Austin. As always, we welcome your comments and ideas and invite you to follow Decibel on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks so much for sharing part of your evening with us. We want to wish you all a very happy New Year.
Funding for Decibel is provided by Texas Mutual Insurance.